In this video, I'd like to talk about why you should consider moving or living in Argentina. So a few months ago, I was still traveling around a bit looking for a home base, and one of the places I was considering was Argentina. Considering to such a degree, me and my wife actually kind of planned to move there. Due to a variety of factors, we decided to just come to her home country for a little bit, China, and stay here for next year. However, I think Argentina, for most people, would be an excellent choice right now, for the reasons I'll outline in this video. So let's get into the video. The first thing is it's relatively affordable, it's quite safe, and it's quite developed. So Argentina, it used to be one of the richest countries in all of the world. I don't know, I think it was around 100 years ago or something like that. So it really did develop quite well, particularly in the east of the country where the climate's good. You have good fertile land, good rainfall every year, and good aquifers which allow civilization to develop and good farming. So it's quite developed actually. Buenos Aires is one of the nicest cities in Latin America, and the surrounding area is also quite nice. There are some rough parts or whatever where it doesn't look too clean. However, most of it's pretty good, and it's like the surrounding area is quite developed. You have buses, you have trains going into the city, you have the highways are okay. They don't have the best highway system in Buenos Aires, but it's okay. And it's just the quality of life you can live there is actually pretty good. And the safety is pretty good. So in the far west or south of Argentina, safety can be a little bit of a toss-up because there's still some bandits and like stuff like this operating. However, in Buenos Aires region, it's really quite safe, as well as most of the eastern part of the country where people live, unless you're going way west or south, either into the Arctic, the desert, or the mountains, it's going to be really quite safe in Argentina. I know many expats who live there. They either have their own ranch or their own farm or just live in a city in a house. And none of them have any like security issues. None of them have been robbed a lot. None of them have had home break-ins. None of this sort of stuff. The only issues I've heard are, once again, in the far west or the far south, something like this, where there are some bandits operating in the region. Other than this, it's a very safe place. It's very developed. It's very, I don't know. It's also very affordable. So like the price in Argentina for what you get is actually quite good. So in Buenos Aires city center, okay, it's a big city center, it's not too great. It's just like Brazil, Sao Paulo, something like this, in terms of quality for a price. It's not too great, it's not too bad. It is above Western standards in terms of quality for a price. So, however, if you just go a little bit out of the city center, things can get very cheap, especially if you're living there long term. You can rent, or you can buy even, a nice house, a villa basically. Huge house with a pool, a yard on, I don't know, a few thousand square meter property. You can buy this for barely over $100,000 in some cases. You can rent it for around $1,000. So like you have really good quality for the price. Is the area going to be perfect? Maybe not for those sort of places, but it's just an example. And if you go further out, like Argentina has some of the cheapest land in the entire world currently. Part of this is because of export restrictions and tariffs on agricultural products produced in Argentina, but also it's just Argentina, despite being quite developed and having infrastructure, it just doesn't have much capital due to the former governments here being quite socialist and let's just say robbing the people a little bit more than appropriately. So the situation in Argentina, however, politically has been improving. So as one of the other things, the political situation is getting better in Argentina. It's one of the only countries where things are actually getting better, in my opinion. So most countries, it seems like things are going downhill. Things are either getting to a point where the issues with cities are building up and the governments aren't fixing them, or they're having societal problems due to immigration or just foreign influence. Things are getting worse in most places, as well as governments are raising taxes and generally being more bureaucratic. Well, Argentina is one of the only places where things are actually, you're getting less restrictions. They're cutting a lot of government spending. They're cutting a lot of government just dumb stuff. They're making your life as someone who lives in Argentina easier, which is really nice. To see things improve. People are actually still improving the country. Like you're getting just better things, better roads, better like facilities, better infrastructure is starting to occur. Has it completely rolled out? No, but the impacts of the economic improvements Meli has done in the country are starting to take hold, and I believe the country is really turning around. It's getting better, it feels better. And this, in my opinion, will continue for quite some time. So that's another thing that's really quite nice, just being in a country where things are actually improving rather than getting worse. The next thing I'd like to say is briefly just, it's a homogeneous society. If you're not sure what that means, it's like a society that people are kind of similar, they're all kind of one. So it's not 100% true. Argentina does have some immigrants from places like Bolivia, and they do have some Native Americans and stuff, of course. But the society is pretty homogeneous. They kind of think the same, they kind of operate the same, they have a similar culture. Everyone in the country, I think it's like 80-90% of the country is like Spanish origin, European, then it's just local native people. And they have, most of the native people are mixed quite well, and just overall the society, you don't feel that sort of conflict you do in a lot of other countries. If you're in Brazil, there's a lot of social conflict because of the amount of slaves they used to have and just the general division the country has. Between the slaves, the native people, and the Europeans that came. You have a lot of division in, of course, Europe now with all the African and Arab migrants who came in. It's just, to me, I feel like there's something special about being in a place that's homogeneous, that everyone's kind of the same. There's unity. It feels safer, it feels friendlier, people are more trustworthy, you have a more high trust society. And this really just shows throughout the entire society. So it's something I really enjoy about Argentina, and I think it's one of the main advantages. On that note, if you're not like white European or something, or not native, you're not going to really, from what I've seen and experienced, you won't really experience racism in Argentina. As long as you put in some effort, if you're living there, put in some effort to learn some Spanish and stuff like this, because they don't speak a lot of English there, then you're going to be treated just fine. They're not like a very racist country. I feel like countries that aren't as homogeneous are actually more racist. So if you go to, I don't know, Brazil, and you're black, like you're from Africa or the US, but you're just African American, you will be treated exceptionally by some people. However, a certain part of Brazil will be incredibly racist towards you. It just depends. Versus in Argentina, you'll kind of just be treated like a human being pretty much wherever you go. Maybe there's a little extra like, wow, there's a black man over there. But that's pretty much going to be the extent of the racism from what I saw. It doesn't seem like Argentina people are too racist. Yeah, but let's move on. The next thing would be, it's actually easy to live in Argentina. So you want to get residency, you want to get citizenship there, it's actually quite easy. If you own a house or a few properties abroad, you can show the ownership document as well as the monthly income you make, and it's above, say, $1,200 a month to $2,000 a month, somewhere in there, or higher, but $1,200 is usually enough. You can just simply show up on a tourist visa, show that paperwork, and get residency, temporary residency, but after 2 years you can apply for citizenship, or 3 years get your permanent residency. So it's really quite easy, it's really quite straightforward. You don't even need a lawyer if your documents are in order like that, and they're actually quite clear. If you're not making passive income through like real estate, it's a bit harder to get residency. However, there are still ways to go about it, as well as you can always just simply, Argentina offers citizenship by birth. So if you're planning to have a kid, you can also just go to Argentina, give birth to the kid, and the kid gets citizenship, and you get residency, and eventually citizenship quite shortly after. So this is another option, as well as, like I said, if you live in Argentina for more than 2 years, you can apply for citizenship. And right now, technically, while I don't promote illegal migration, I think it's a horrible idea, you can technically get citizenship after living in Argentina illegally for 2 years. Will that change? Maybe. So you might get screwed. So that's why I don't really think it's a good idea to go that route. But you can technically go there, live there 2 years, and apply for citizenship. Will you get it? No. Yeah, you won't. A lot of people online will say you can just fly around a tourist visa, stay 2 years, and get yourself citizenship. But in reality, the situation, no. I know a lawyer in the country who actually does, they specialize in helping these sort of people who were accidentally there illegally, or were there because of family or whatever, something like this. And even these people who weren't just flying around a tourist visa and trying to game the system, even those people were kind of legitimately there illegally for whatever reason. Even they have trouble getting citizenship there. Sometimes it takes them 5 years or more. So just doing it this way is just a very dumb way. Just do it legally, get a residency, or have a baby there, something along these lines. It's just a much better option if you plan on living there. The next thing would be, just quite frankly, you're away from all the drama. So the drama around the world is getting really bad. Like all the wars between the Europe, or really the US and Russia, between Israel and basically everyone who's not Israel. Just generally conflict is expanding. There's a lot more drama in the world, and just being away from all this crap is really advantageous. You just don't have to think about it. Like, just forget about it. It's fine. Like, if you're in Argentina, you don't really care what war breaks out. It doesn't affect you too much. It just affects your investments. You're going to be safe down there in Argentina. If, like, I don't know, just if anything really happens, it's not really a concern of yours. If there's some big crisis, Israel goes to war with all the countries in the area, it's not going to really affect you too much. Even all the, like, refugees that are going to come out of that war, they're not going to come to Argentina. They're going to be coming to Europe. So, like, just you're insulated from all the drama in the world. You don't really have to think about or concern yourself with it as much. And you got clean air down there. You got clean water. Everything's cleaner because it's further away. It's less population dense. So this also leaves you away from all the drama of production and all that sort of stuff. Of course, you need to be a little more self-reliant or relying on a domestic economy, which it doesn't produce too much specialty products. You might have to import some stuff if you're looking for that. But to me, being way down there in South America and not having quite as good access to goods, but not having to deal with any of the drama or the safety risk of these other places around the world is actually quite, it's a good trade-off in my opinion. Okay, so one of the last things I'd like to talk about in this video is the amount of beautiful scenery and just environment Argentina has to offer, and the climate. So the climate in Argentina, it varies depending on where you go. If you're in the far north, it's quite hot. It's quite a like semi-tropical, tropical climate, like southern US. However, in the rest of the country, it's much more temperate, it's much nicer, but it doesn't get too cold usually. It doesn't get too much below freezing unless you're like in the southern desert type area. So near Buenos Aires, fantastic weather, you're gonna be there, and the weather's, I don't know, it doesn't really get below freezing, it doesn't get too much above like 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius at most. So the temperature is just quite fantastic, and like I said before, you have some really nice clean air. In the other part of the country, say the western part, Mendoza gets a little bit hotter, but not too much hotter. Down in like El Bochon or San Carlos de Bariloche, it gets not as hot, but it gets a little bit colder, but it's still within a comfortable band. It's kind of like a similar climate to, say, somewhere like Switzerland or something like this. It's a mountainy area, so it stays quite cool. It has lakes nearby, mountains, everything. It's very nice. But that leads me also into the scenery is really beautiful. So up in Mendoza, it's a bit, personally I don't like that sort of climate as much, but a lot of people like it. You have your wineries, you have your mountains, you have like this nice environment there. But I prefer more like foresty, cooler, rugged terrain. So I prefer more down the south, either near the Arctic or like near El Bariloche. Bariloche is fantastic nearby. The city, it's a little busy, a little cramped in my opinion. However, the region nearby is just exceptional in terms of between north, south, wherever you go, you're just covered by mountains, forests, beautiful nature, reserves, lakes, everything. It's a little cold for some people, but I love it. Other than that, over in like Buenos Aires, you don't have quite as much nature and beautiful scenery. If you go a little southwest of Buenos Aires, you have some rolling hills and some small mountains. You have some sea, southeast, and these places are okay, but you don't really have as much nature in Buenos Aires, to be honest. You have nature, but it's not like wow, beautiful scenery. You just have like some nice parks, you have some nice grass, you have some nice farmland, but it's all kind of flat. And personally, growing up in a place that was very flat, Texas, I'm not very fond of just flat terrain. I'm not amazed by it. So that's why I'm talking more about the other parts of the country. But throughout like the central part of the country, as well as near Buenos Aires, you got lots of mostly flat, like farmland and nice parks, some type of like marshlands as well. And they're like, it can be beautiful to some people. I just prefer the mountain areas more. I'm always attracted to mountains. But the beach is also okay. It's a bit chilly. South of Buenos Aires, not in Buenos Aires. I'm not even really sure if there's a beach there. But south, a couple hours, people go there to one of these cities to, let me check the city. Okay, I just want to make sure your name, Mar del Plata. This city has some nice beaches nearby and stuff, and some other smaller cities nearby that I actually prefer. So anyhow, they do have some nature over there in Buenos Aires, but to me, the big thing is Buenos Aires has good flights around the country as well as to other countries. So really, if you want some nature and you're like mountain person like me, fly out. It's a short flight. It's not too expensive to either somewhere in southern Brazil, into the west of the country, into Chile, into Bolivia, wherever you might want. to me, that's the way to go. Okay, so that's like kind of why I think Argentina is a place you should really consider living. But you know what? One more thing. So Argentina also, like if I was going to live in Argentina, because I was seriously considering it recently, and I am still considering it for the future, where would I live? So personally, I feel like the area nearby Buenos Aires is really good. You have best access to goods, flights, everything. So it's not too much more expensive if you go to the countryside a bit or not too far from the city. So personally, where I like is probably about an hour outside of Buenos Aires, maybe 2 hours, at most 3 hours. This isn't too far because I grew up in Texas. Everything's big and like I'm used to that sort of distance between me and a big city. But maybe somewhere out there, get some nice land, nice farm, something like this, who knows? Or maybe go over there to like Bariloche. I really like the climate over there. It has, like I said, really truly some of the most amazing mountains and lakes and stuff in the world. Probably live over there in one of the smaller towns or something like this. It has just, it's exceptional. Truly, the only mountains that really stand up to it are like Swiss Alps and I guess the Nepali mountains, the Himalayas. Only really these two mountain ranges are quite as magnificent, in my opinion, as the ones near Bariloche. Also, there's some other areas in the country you might want to consider, like near Cordoba. There's a lot of small towns as well as just Cordoba itself is not a bad place. It doesn't get too hot, especially if you go just nearby any mountains a little bit there. You have some small mountains, hills type of thing, and it's quite okay there, quite cool year round. The only issue there is if you want to like, I kind of like farming a bit. It might seem weird to you, but I like farming a bit. I like growing my own food and stuff. There, the water situation is not always the best. You don't get a lot of rainfall, stuff like this. But otherwise, the like climate and things to do and like access to flights, everything's actually quite good in Cordoba as well. I haven't been too much over, and I'm not too familiar with like the northwestern area, so I can't really speak good on that. But overall, really, like if you're considering living in Argentina after this video, or just generally, really, I'd say take your time to explore Argentina. Really go on a trip around Argentina, maybe go on a road trip like me and my wife are considering. It's a good country for this, or just go there and just visit a few different cities, because Argentina really has a vast amount of landscape and a vast amount of ways of life you can live in. That's one of the things I really like about it. You really have quite a bit of variety in the country, and it just really allows you to pick the climate and type of life you really want. If you're not a city person, you can pick the countryside. If you're a mountain person, they got mountains. If you're a sea person, they kind of have some sea. Like they have variety. So anyhow, that's going to be all for this video. With that being said, if you have any thoughts or questions regarding Argentina, or you just want to share your experience visiting Argentina, feel free to leave those down below. But with that being said, bye-bye.